Purchase defaulted notes for pennies on the dollar. That's really the key, and I can't stress that enough. So what happens with the paper is we can buy it really, really cheap. Depending on the quality of paper, which does come in categories and niches, we can buy stuff for less than 50 cents on the dollar. That's probably the easiest way to say it. We buy stuff as low as 7 cents on the dollar. So probably the niche is probably between 20 and 30 for good stuff. We buy direct from the source. That's really the key. There's no daisy chain. There's no middleman, because that's the key. The problem is you're getting a lot of these people who know how to Google and internet stuff. And they're selling these pools on the internet, and they ask for 3%. As soon as they ask for 3%, it's a daisy chain. It's not direct from the source. You don't do that, okay? Relationships are the key. I travel all the country. So why do you travel so much? Why do you do this? Because I meet bankers. All the bankers I want to meet aren't here. Does anybody know how many banks are in the United States? You're investors. You should know this.
Too many.
Huh? Not enough. See? A skeptic. There's about 6,200 banks. I usually give a book away when you guys do all this, but I think I've got enough books for everybody. So we're not going to play that game. Okay, so you just win for Trivia Pursuit. But 6,200 banks there are, all right? Now, I used to be that way. That's why I make fun of you, because I'm going to show you how you should know all the players. But relationships are the key. And with us, we can trust our source because I know who they are. Do I work with 6,200 banks? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. Do I need to? Absolutely not. One bank could supply you for forever. You could retire on one bank. You don't need to. But you should always have competition. Okay? So, I told you about $8 billion. This is the really interesting thing. This is really cool. The credit guy probably should know this too, but I don't know where he is. Probably already having some wine. But Bank of America, HSBC, and Wells Fargo, and I don't know if you guys are aware of Fannie and Freddie, just sold off. They're selling a lot of notes this year, and just unbelievable. Are sitting on large inventories. Now, Wells Fargo and HSBC, do you guys know who the CREF is? That's the Consumer Real Estate Financial Advisory Board, which I don't know if they're a true entity or just a bunch of guys saying this is what you should do so we don't get in this again, but they're government acknowledged. And what they do is they tell you what to do, and they help create underwriting numbers on new loans. And they told the government, screw you, your lending underwriting terms are too high. Wells Fargo just hired 450 new underwriters and lowered the guidelines. So they're outside the government guidelines. What does that mean? The next crash is that much sooner. What does that mean? That means my business is going to double or triple or quadruple because we're just waiting for the next crash, right? That's what we're looking for. I built my whole business on a horrible market, okay? So I want to take advantage of it. But that just means we're set up for another crash. And will we have another crash?
Yeah, always.
Always. Why? Why?
Cycles.
Does anybody know that answer?
Economics
Cycles.
is
It's cycles, right? I love this example. I don't know if it hits you at home, but people say, well, old people, or even me, I ain't gonna pay $4 a gallon of gas. When I first started driving, it was 37 cents a gallon. Ah, man, I bitch and complain and moan and the whole shot, right? But if you're a teenager and you just got your license, what's more important to you?
Gas.
Your desire to drive. Ever super exceeds the cost of gas. I gotta give me a date. My girlfriend's not gonna go out with me if I'm riding on a bike. And old Joe's gonna get the date with my girlfriend. No, the desire to drive supersedes that, right? So people forget, they forget really fast. Money to most people is water. It just comes and goes. Most people don't understand the power of money, the compound effect of investing, of money. Okay, my new coach, Darren Hardy, I don't know if you guys know who he is. Does anybody know who Darren Hardy is? He's the owner of Success Magazine. Fantastic. I just related to this guy the first time I heard him speak. I've heard him for months and months and years. I signed up with him about 4 months ago. Fantastic guy, just fantastic. Okay, but aside from that, I got off the track there. The reason I tell you that is because this is good. Wells and HSBC are going to lower the standards that the government says we should do loans. That means there's going to be more and more increase in properties, values, everything else. That's good, because if more people can buy, that's what you got to do. Banks are apple farmers. They got to get apples in people's hands. They got to get money in people's hands. That's their job. People think that banks are supposed to control how much money you get. They want to get as much money in your hands as possible. This was hard for me to learn. This was hard for me to understand. That's their job. They already know, like an apple farmer, that a lot of what they're doing is going to go bad. They already know that. Let's see.
Tony, why do they make it so hard to do short sales then?
Well, short sales have gotten a lot easier, okay, but it's not the bank, it's the investor behind it usually. Banks are usually the servicer normally, but there's a couple other reasons too. HSBC has $8 billion in defaulted notes alone, and they only were able to release $1 billion last year because it's such a backlog. You know, if you know anything about notes, there's a lot of paperwork that goes with it. It's hard to get it out. HUD sold $2.6 billion in February just alone in defaulted paper. Okay, these are numbers that are good to know because I want to get you excited about investing in this arena. I think it's pretty cool. Now it's just done. I wonder if it has something to do with the sound. Okay. And so here's my first deal. Should it again? I don't know why it's burning. I've never seen that before.
Let me try.
Oh, you know what? It's DoubleTree. It's the internet. It's trying to connect. Why would it try to connect? That's really strange. This was my first deal back in 2007. An agent came to me when I was teaching people how to do short sales, and he came to me and he said, the seller has a house, it's fallen behind. The second was $250,000. I ended up buying it for $100,000. I made $48,000 on the deal. Now this was back when they sort of, it was like, anybody know the concept A to B to B to C deals, right? You take ownership of the control of the deal and you do that. Funny thing about that, it's not illegal, but everybody frowns on it. Government frowns on it, title companies frown on it, escrow frowns on it, the DRE frowns on it, everybody frowns on it, but it's not illegal, right? It's funny, if the government does it, it's never illegal. If we do it, it's always illegal, right? So, but everybody was frowning on it, never did anything wrong, but I said, I learned through one of my first mentors, was that buy the note, control the deal. I'm the bank. So I bought the second. I'm the bank. I bought it from Wells Fargo. I didn't even know what the hell I was doing. I bought it from Wells Fargo for $100,000, and all I did was sign off on the close of the deal. So it was an A to C, really, or an A to B. I was just the bank. I wasn't a primary person in the transaction. That was pretty exciting. The seller avoided a short sale, the agents got full commission, and the buyer purchased it for 10% under the fair market value of the neighborhood. And the funny thing, guys, I didn't have $100,000 at the time, liquid. I was real estate rich and cash poor, like a lot of people in 2007. I spent 3 days staying up all night, talking to 5 escrow companies, 7 title companies, lenders, everybody. Where am I going to get this? How am I going to make this deal work? What's legal? What's not? I talked to transactional funders. I talked to all these different people. Everybody wanted a big piece of the pie, taking a lot of my profit. I figured it out. The buyer was going to put $250,000 down on this deal. He already had $125,000 in escrow. I said, do me a favor, release $100,000 to me in escrow so I can show Wells Fargo that I was committed to buying it. Title held it, and the deal closed. I made $48,000. Sweet. And I gave him $2,000 bonus for letting me use his money. Pretty smart, huh? Pretty smart. Because I am a problem solver, and I believe there's always a way to make it work. Okay? That was my first deal, and went on from there. So I already answered this, so you get a free bonus. All right, there's 6,200 banks. There's about 8,000 or 800 credit unions. A lot of them now are owned by one, if you're not aware of that. So know the players. This is really important. I talked about this. I kind of joked about it a little bit before. But you should know the players. If you guys are investors, you should know the players. Have any of you ever played sports? Somebody come on. You played sports? Were you in a league? Bowling league?
Yeah.
Racquetball league? Anything? Were there other teams? Did you know who they were? Did you guys keep records? Wins and losses, right? Okay? So you got to know this stuff. If you're going to be an investor, start knowing who your competition is. And they're not necessarily competition, ironically. I don't know if I mentioned this before, but I'm a very competitive person. And so I always have to pick sides, right? You know, I see 2 Little League kids playing, I'm picking one team over the other. I'm laying odds, I'm doing that just in my head, I'm not doing it. gambling or anything, but I'm doing it in my head because I'm a competitive person. I look at the strength of them, I look at they play as a team, I do all this kind of stuff, and I try to evaluate who's going to win and by how many points, because that's just my nature. So when I started doing all this, I had to pick a side. Well, I'm on the bank side and the government sucks. And then I'm on the government side and the bank side, and lender side. And I had to pick a side, and I realized everybody plays a role in what we're doing. So I can't change the rules, but I can play by them. So tell me what the rules are, and then I'll play under those guidelines. So the banks play a very important role. The government plays a huge role. Investors, economy, homeowners, lenders, okay? So when you go back to this, now their role could change all the time, right? The government comes up with a law. What's the big one now in the books that everybody's scared of? I got a book. Dodd-Frank. There you go. All right, so everybody gets a book. Dodd-Frank. Everybody knows. Does anybody know what Dodd-Frank's going to do? They don't know yet. They have no idea. What's that?
It'll lower the interest rate and give people the deals, the mortgage people.
Page 372. I don't know. That's one of the things. Nobody knows. It's got some things in there. What are they in there for? The government commercial, again, I believe, to inhibit the growth and really limit investors many times so that the 1% of scum is sort of is caught. When really we provide a service. We really provide a service. The investor is the most important, crucial part of the human spirit and of American economy, if you don't know that, okay? So just find out what they do, how they play. Know these guys. I might have missed one here, but know the players all the time. Find out what they're doing. I keep up with lending rules. What are homeowners doing? Are they renting? Are they buying? Are they getting ready to sell for their secondary home? I want to know all of that stuff. What are investors doing? That's really one of the most important things that I like to know all the time. Are they buying, holding, fix it, flip it? I just need to know what they're doing all the time. Okay, so the government, I showed this before, and they don't really add a whole lot of help, especially to investors. I never hear them say, we got a new bill for investors. Hooray. Never heard that one yet. Okay, so do you fear notes? Now, one of the things, when I started doing this, I did fear notes. I share this with you not because I make this up because I want you to think this way, because I actually thought this way. I didn't want to get in notes because, oh my God, I got to deal with attorneys every single day. Anybody here an attorney? Okay. I didn't want to deal with attorneys because why? Every time you talk to an attorney, it costs you money. Click, 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 click. And so I was afraid of that. And bankruptcy, I thought bankruptcy and foreclosure are dirty words, right? They're dirty words in the real estate industry. So there wasn't any historical data, very little to find. And I didn't want to get burned again. I just got out of this other market, and now I'm jumping into something else. I want to make sure I knew what I was doing. So I had all these fears. Turned out, a lot of them were false. Okay? A lot of them were false. And I didn't know how to do fair market values across the country. I knew my own backyard. I've been a real estate agent for over 20 years. I know how to create values. But you know what? What I learned, I've traveled all over the country. And I've never gone anywhere where I've seen people with 2 heads and 3 arms and 4 legs. They're all the same. Houses are all the same. People are basically all the same. As a matter of fact, in other parts of the country, they're actually much nicer. Okay? So not over here, but like in LA. So fair market values, okay? So with technology, man, it's changed everything. I don't have to ever leave my bedroom if I didn't want to. I could do business. So trust your judgment. This is the one I think that we fail most of the time. Okay? Because we all want that historical data. We all want to believe that, hey, Joe, come over here and tell me if you think this is a good deal. I wouldn't touch it. I wouldn't touch it. Okay, and then you go, okay, I'm not going to touch it either. That is the stupidest way to do business. I dated a girl one time. She was buying a dress for this really important event we were going to. And she stopped, and I thought she was attractive, and she stopped this woman that she didn't even know in the store and asked her which dress she liked better. And I went, what the hell? She didn't ask me, because I didn't want to answer anyway, because you know what it is when a guy answers that question. It's a trap. But she asked this woman, didn't understand her taste, didn't know her from Adam, and yet she's going to say and believe what this stranger told her? Well, I thought, oh my God, that was the biggest learning experience for me, because I thought, you don't just ask a stranger for advice on anything. Go to the experts. Go to somebody who knows what they're doing. Because the problem is that the majority of the people, what's their own agenda? Have they done this before? Do they know what they're doing? Don't ask just anybody if this is a good deal. I knew how to build houses when I got into real estate. I knew how to rehab them. Most of the agents, they were very successful. And I would ask them, I want to buy this as a rehab. Oh, I wouldn't touch it. They didn't do rehabs. That was my stupid mistake for asking them. And the son of a gun, one that I really liked, I let go. And some investor bought it and made a $100,000 profit. And I saw it. But I didn't act on it because I didn't trust my judgment. And I didn't seek the right approach. Lack of numbers. Remember, change is the only thing that is permanent. You've got to let go of what your total convictions are. What is it? If you want to create, what I just heard, I love sayings and stuff like that. If you want to create great wealth, you've got to create a new you. Right? You can't make a lot of money being who you are right now. You can't. And I tell you this not because I'm trying to change you. I'm trying to change myself as I'm speaking to you. Because, guys, I have grown my business from nothing. I mean nothing. And our 5-year plan right now, I'll tell you the story. I'll set aside from this because this is the fun one for me. And you can take it for whatever it's worth and believe it or disbelieve it or whatever. It hasn't happened yet. But when I started this, I got sick and tired of working as a real estate agent, just trying to make a living. Because I saw so many real estate agents, I saw so many investors. They're 70, 80 years old, and they're doing the same thing. Now, if they love it and they don't have to work, that's a different story. But they were doing it to survive. Waiting for that next commission, waiting for that next deal to close. And I said, you know, my coach has always told me, create a saleable business. Create a saleable business. A lot of people start their own business because and you end up just creating a job for yourself. And not just a job, you're everything. You're the janitor, the bookkeeper, the president, everything. Anybody here read the E-Myth? If you haven't, you should read it. That should be your Bible, the E-Myth. Okay? First, remove my cheese, and then the E-Myth. Very, very powerful. Changed my life. My coach has been telling me my whole career, for 20 years in real estate, create a saleable business. If somebody walked into my real estate office, would they buy my office? Would they take it over? And you know how many would? Not, I mean, in real estate agents, probably very few. I have a team. I've had a team. I've never worked in a real estate office my whole career. I have a transaction coordinator, a buyer's agent, assistant, da-da-da-da-da. And I am the fuel, I am the rainmaker, okay? And we set it up that way. And so when people work with us, it's a different concept. My company now is that way. So I said to myself, 5 years ago, when I started buying notes, was 7 years ago, but it was 2 years into it that I thought, this could be a business. And if any of you invest, and you don't think you're a business, you're lying to yourself, okay? First and foremost, you are a business. So you better start setting it up that way. You better start thinking that way. It's not, you know, notes can be a passive income, and that's great and everything else, but it's still a business. You are a manager now. If you own apartment buildings, that's a business, right? If you own income-producing property, that's a business. You are the manager. They call you when there's a problem. They call you when they pay you. You're the manager. You've got to take care of it, okay? So I came up with this concept, and I thought, the market crashed, and I said, excuse me, I said, poo-poo, I'm not going to go through this again. This is it. I don't know how many cycles I can go through, right? I was sick and tired of being sick and tired. And I said, I got to change. And the way I'm doing it is not working. Yeah, I'm successful, and I can be successful, and I can continue to do this. But you know what? Somebody moved my cheese, and I had to chase it, and I had to chase it. And I said, what can I do? What can I do? I had no idea. If you would have told me 7 years ago, I'd be doing what I'm doing today, speaking in front of you, writing a book, traveling all over the country, being known as an expert at what I'm doing, I'd have laughed in your face. I swear I would have laughed in your face because I was so used to doing it one way. I had to change, and my change has not been easy, okay? It's not going to be easy. I told you who I was. I was just a normal person growing up. I have nobody who owned a business in my family. I was the first to graduate from a 4-year university in my family. Nobody was a salesman, a business owner. Nobody made a lot of money. I had no influential mentors growing up in our family. No successful athletes or politicians or anything. They were all normal, average people. So I didn't want to be normal, and I didn't want to be average. So I had to break away from that, and I've had to be influenced my whole life. Thank God, at an early part, and when I was in my early 20s, I was introduced to Zig Ziglar and Jim Rohn and Brian Tracy and then Tony Robbins, who I just admire the heck out of. And now Tom Ferry's my coach in real estate and Darren Harding in my business side of it. And then I used Tony Robbins for a number of years for my personal growth. But you got to have a coach, you got to have a mentor, but it's what you want. If you're happy with that, that's fine. But I didn't know how and I didn't know why, but I put a vision in front of it. And I put a plan and I put a goal. And I said to myself, what do I want? Well, I don't want to work the rest of my life. And I want to enjoy some of the things that the very wealthy, I want to leave a legacy. I want to leave something that people will say, man, he really had an impact. He did something. And it wasn't, Zig Ziglar said something one time that has resonated with me for 30 years, and that is, don't die with your music inside. And I thought, and we've all got a song to sing. And what a shame we don't do it. My dad could have been a great artist, but his family was Hispanic, and he wanted a scholarship to go to a real fancy art school in Chicago. But do you think he was promoted to do that? No. No. And so my dad's art is dead inside him, and it's sad. It's sad. So with me, it was like, I want to leave a legacy. I know what that legacy is, and I want to leave it. And yeah, I want to make money. I'm not going to lie to you, because part of my legacy is making a lot of money that I can leave to charity, I can leave for things. One of my biggest impact for me personally is children, because I think children, if they're born unfortunate, they don't, that's sad. Adults have a choice, but for children, that's just me. That's just me. And I want to leave a legacy. I won't share exactly what that's going to be, but there's things I want to do, and I want to impact as many lives as I can in a positive way. So it's important for me to do that, because I want to sing my song. So I'm sharing that with you, but when I made that goal, I said, okay, what do I want to do? How many people do I want to have? Do I want to have a business? Do I want to have 50 people, 100 people? Do I want to do all of this and stuff? And if you would have told me 8 years ago where I was going with this, I would have said, you're crazy. I don't want to open another office. I could make just enough money being a single real estate agent, doing it all on my own, and I'm happy with that, and I'm content. And then it just started to grow. And I realized that in order for me to go where I want, I got to let go of trying to be a secret agent, a small agent, somebody that's not thinking big. And I tell you this because it doesn't matter what field you're in. It doesn't matter what you're doing. If you're going to work, maximize it. I see Kobe makes $30 million a year as an NBA star. He's hired to do the same job as everybody else, but he gets different results. Right? That's why you pay one attorney $1,000 and one attorney $250 an hour, because he gets you different results. So that is important to me, is to be able to do that. And so I put this stupid number on there. I said, if somebody buys my company for $40 million, I'll sell it. Didn't know who, didn't know where, had no idea if that was ever going to happen. In the last year, we put together a chief financial officer who has structured, looked at my books, looked at my P&L, and our 5-year plan is to get $100 million, because people, the money is out there. I had no idea. I'm building my company brick by brick. I'm not seeing it, the big picture. I have no idea. I've never done that before. Has anybody here sold a $100 million company? Got a $100 million loan, $10 million loan? No, neither have I. But now all of a sudden people are clamoring to give me money. It's amazing. Now, I can take down bigger pieces of that $8 billion. So I'm sharing this with you not because I want you to invest in notes. I do, because I think it's a great opportunity. But I'm trying to tell you that if you follow your love, your passion, and you understand that whatever you're doing, there is a journey to success, find out how to get there. Because you guys took time out of your busy weekend, Memorial Day weekend, to be here. And there's an opportunity. And it doesn't matter what side it is. If you want to own a lot of properties, I just want to own notes. But you know what? I have to start thinking that there's going to be a day when I'm not going to own a note. Because what happens when somebody takes over your company or buys you out? They kick you out the door. But if I land on $40 million, that's a pretty soft landing. They kick me all they want. Okay? But hopefully, I'll have a different percentage, a different thing. We're already looking at different aspects of the growth of the company for the future, because we could acquire properties, because we have unique knowledge. So I want to share this with you.
If you've learned a lot about leadership and making a movement, then let's watch a movement happen start to finish in under 3 minutes and dissect some lessons. First, of course, a leader needs the guts to stand alone and look ridiculous. But what he's doing is so simple, it's almost instructional. This is key. You must be easy to follow. Now here comes the first follower with a crucial role. He publicly shows everyone else how to follow. Notice how the leader embraces him as an equal. So it's not about the leader anymore, it's about them, plural. Notice how he's calling to his friends to join in. So it takes guts to be a first follower. You stand out, you brave ridicule yourself. Being a first follower is an underappreciated form of leadership. The first follower transforms a lone nut.
Oh,
Did it eat? Is that what it is? Oh, good.
Into a leader. If the leader is the flint, the first follower is the spark that really makes the fire. Now here's the second follower. This is a turning point. It's proof the first has done well. Now it's not a lone nut and it's not two nuts. 3 is a crowd and a crowd is news. A movement must be public. Make sure outsiders see more than just the leader. Everyone needs to see the followers because new followers emulate followers, not the leader. Now here come 2 more people, then 3 more immediately. Now we've got momentum. This is the tipping point, and now we have a movement. As more people jump in, it's no longer risky. If they were on the fence before, there's no reason not to join in now. They won't stand out, they won't be ridiculed, and they will be part of the in crowd if they hurry. And over the next minute, you'll see the rest who prefer to stay part of the crowd, because eventually they'd be ridiculed for not joining. And ladies and gentlemen, that is how a movement is made. So let's recap what we've learned. If you are a version of the shirtless dancing guy, all alone, remember the importance of nurturing your first few followers as equals, making everything clearly about the movement, not you. Be public, be easy to follow. But the biggest lesson here, did you catch it? Leadership is overglorified. Yes, it started with the shirtless guy, and he'll get all the credit, but you saw what really happened. It was the first follower that transformed a lone nut into a leader. There's no movement without the first follower. See, we're told that we all need to be leaders, but that would be really ineffective. The best way to make a movement, if you really care, is to courageously follow and show others how to follow. When you find a lone nut doing something great, have the guts to be the first person to stand up and join in.
Anybody see themselves in that video? Somewhere,
Yeah.
hopefully. If you're an investor, you're probably in there somewhere. All right. So I was the lone nut. When I started doing short sales, nobody wanted to do short sales. They all said, you gotta, don't do short sales. They take forever, you're not gonna make a lot of money. I said, okay, I'm gonna do it. But I had done short sales in the 90s, so I had a little bit of an advantage. Then nobody said, when I started to get into seconds, they said, don't buy seconds. You're so unsecured. First are the only ones I would touch. Don't do it. And I said, okay, then I'm going into seconds. Because I went where nobody else wanted to go. When everybody said it was trash, I said, I'm going there. Okay? And so this was one, this just recently happened. This is kind of cool. This is where we have unique knowledge. I like to think that my company, we have 4 divisions within my company. We have unique knowledge from the real estate side, from resolution and acquisition, both negotiated from the bank side and from the borrower side. And we had a deal pop in us that we ended up trying to do acquisition of the note. The bank said no. And this was a second. So we did, the borrower said, I got to sell a short sale. And then we negotiated for me. So we did in our real estate division. My negotiators are trained to keep asking. So we asked if we could acquire the note. Until 3 days before we were supposed to actually close the short sale, they said no, 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 no. And then they called up and said, you know what? I don't know why they did this. I honestly don't know why they did this. But they called up and said, we'll sell you the note, the second, for $35,000 as long as the seller doesn't get $1. I said, okay, that's fine. I made $118,000 3 days before. I'll bet you there's probably a handful of agents in this country that would have known how to do that deal because it was unique to our knowledge. And we made $118,000 on it. We actually made a little more. I actually did give the owner some money. I gave them HAMP funds of $3,000, and I gave the buyer an additional $2,500 for closing costs. Just because that's the way I am. I think it needs to be a win-win for everybody. I always show this, but I'm not going to show it anymore. Because that's just what the government did to help us. because they were destroyed too. The government is always looking for what? They're looking for that bell curve. They're not looking for us. If you're an investor and you think you're in the bell curve, then you're in the wrong room. Because you're either at the front of that bell curve or at the back of the bell curve. And you're not the general public. So you really want to be in front of it, obviously. So how many years do we have left? Anybody got an idea how many years we have left of this? Of this good market for defaulted notes? Well,
1 year.
bad market, good market, whatever you want to. 1 year?
1 year.
Experts say 2 to 3.
Okay.
So we're trying to buy as much as we can in the next 24 months. And you can see there's $8 billion. And it's out there already. It's like that ship has sailed, so it's not going to come back. And the banks can't fix those rotten apples anymore, right? It's apple. It's pigeonholed for apple juice, and they're not going to do it. So let's see if we can. Let me see if I can find it here. You say it's the
Yeah, we just right click on that wireless signal.
disconnect. Let's see if I. How do you disconnect?
Switch.
Change adapter.
You might have a wireless button on the laptop.
Yeah, but it doesn't work when I got this up here. I got it disabled in here. See, it's right here. And I need to disable the, see, the button's here, but it doesn't work because we got some new software that stops us from doing it. So I gotta put it on Ethernet. But I don't know. Oh, maybe